Hi, welcome to Planetary Calendars, Astro Portraits. I'm Ralph Dimichis, one of the calendar's astrologers, along with Lonnie Dimichis. This portrait is part of a three-part series on Jennifer Lopez, Ben Affleck, and then their two charts together. So this time I'm doing the chart of Ben Affleck. Ben is born August 15th. Yes, right in the middle of Leo, 1972, at 2:53 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, Berkeley, California. So these two on the continent were born pretty much almost same latitude, two different coasts. He is born with Cancer rising, which I always get that because when you look at him, he always seems just a little bit of doughboy. I mean, his features are very soft. That's a very Cancerian quality. But he's quite tall, which is also a quality you find among Cancerians. He has Venus rising conjunct the ascendant by 1 degree, which of course tends to give a sense of good looks and charm, great likability. Venus in Cancer is a really nice position there. Cancer rising can be a little grouchy, but when you put Venus there, it tends to make it more charming, more caring, more, interested in other people. It puts the sun in the second house, so the sun's below the horizon in Leo. Mercury is also in Leo. Mercury's at 10 degrees Leo. The sun's at 22 degrees Leo. Right above the horizon, interestingly, is Saturn in Gemini, which is interesting because when we get to that, that Saturn in Gemini links up with Jennifer's Venus in Gemini, and that's actually oftentimes seen as a sign of long-term couples. He has Mars in Virgo, a position you find in a lot of actors. It's perfectionism, a willingness to physically go through the motions again and again and again and again, trying to make it just a little bit better. And he has Pallas Athena there, so this is a real skill set for him in the third house, the house of communication. So remembering lines, getting lines perfectly right, working with them is one of his particular skill sets. He has Ceres there, so he might make a good director, especially when it comes to the dialogue. He has Pluto, Uranus, and Juno in the fourth house in Libra. Partnerships are very important to him, but with Pluto and Uranus there, they can be tumultuous, they can be difficult, and exterior elements could really be problematic. And he could find himself going through a whole bunch of legal issues related to his home. And then he has the moon in Scorpio in the fifth house, trine at 4 degrees, trine that Venus in Cancer at 7 degrees and the rising. So it gives a certain sexiness. It's in the fifth house, the house of creativity. The fifth house of creativity, it's about your ability to come from your heart, and he has the moon there. It adds up like a certain sex appeal to his personality, which I'm sure is, part of his success. What's interesting here is that the sun in Leo, which is very strong, is below the horizon. Okay? It's below the horizon. That means the moon is more powerful, but the sun is in its external position. It's, its most extrovert position. It's one of the two, major rulerships. We actually attribute two external rulers to the sun and Leo and Cancer. But his sun is in, the external rulership, the masculine rulership, dynamic. The moon is in Scorpio, which is the fall position for Scorpio. It means on the personal level, it is the best friend. It is the confidant. People love telling secrets to people with Scorpio moons. They're just like, it's like a magnet. People just love telling the Scorpio moon people their secrets. They feel they can be trusted because Scorpio moon is like that. It's very internalized. It's very conscious of the power, and it's very sensitive. It's not interested in expressing to the outside world. It's interested in the personal life. And that moon, like I said, is trine the Venus. So even though he has this, Leo sun, which is, very masculine, he's got a feminine rising and moon. This is a person who really balances between his masculine and feminine sides. which of course is very appealing to people. Many successful actors will have planets, a mix of planets in extrovert signs and introvert signs, what you might call rulers and detriments. It's one of the things that makes them very accessible to their audience. He has the Sun and Jupiter in rulership. Jupiter's in Sagittarius at 28 degrees Sagittarius, trine the Sun. It's a very powerful position. I imagine there's a whole string of people born close to him when the Sun was, within, starting about 20 degrees or about 22 degrees up to when the Sun was in 7 or 8 days later, where the Sun would be trine to that Jupiter, whose lives, they came to prominence in some way. In some, it doesn't have to be in acting. There's lots of ways to be prominent, but it tends to make the person lucky. It just tends to make them lucky, and Jupiter in the 6th house, right, relates to his work. Sagittarius, as an actor, he has traveled a tremendous amount. What's interesting is where's his midheaven? His midheaven is in the 9th house. So for him, it was about what he could learn. See, when you're using whole sign houses, if your midheaven's in the 9th house, it means it's about your knowledge. It's about what you can learn and what you can teach. If it's in the 10th house, then it's about establishing your career, establishing your reputation. If it's in the 11th house, then it's about, you want to make the money. You want to be part of the community and you want to make the money. But his is in the 11th house. It's at 18 degrees Pisces. Pisces is about illusion, imagination. This is perfect for a movie actor. And he's been much more a movie actor than he's been on the stage. He's much more known. He's not a person who is on the boards on Broadway. There's some actors who just love being on the boards on Broadway. This more so is a person who is a movie actor. He likes the protected studio. That's Saturn in Gemini and the Vesta in the 12th house in Gemini. He likes, working with people in a protected space and doing lines together, doing dialogue. He likes that. He likes the imagination. He likes being able to go to far-off lands or take people to far-off lands and do movies that instruct in some ways. His choice of movies, I'm sure, have a lot to do with his spirituality. 18 degrees Pisces is an especially spiritual degree of the zodiac. So for him, to a certain extent, this is a spiritual mission. And the midheaven is trine, loosely, the rising, from 18 to 8. So his mission is very tied to this deeper knowledge and the desire for harmony, which goes back down to that 4th house in Libra, which unfortunately often evades him because the outside world, Pluto, Uranus, and even Juno there in Libra, the outside world oftentimes disrupts it. Disrupts his desire for harmony. The Jupiter in the 6th house, Neptune in the 6th house, powerful. He's a craftsman. It's interesting too because, like with Jennifer's chart, for instance, it's she has Uranus very close to the rising. It's oftentimes seen in people who rise to prominence. He's much more of a craftsman about his work. He's very much an artist. The Venus at the rising is oftentimes a sign of an artist. Sun in the 2nd house with Mercury, the house of the arts. There's a concentration there in a number of different places. Selena in the 7th house, Capricorn there. He's willing to work on it. He was willing to, really come to prominence. As much work as it took him, but he was very much an actor. He didn't intend to be a star. He intended to be an actor. The fact that he's been successful at it and is very well known, it's not about sizzle with him. It's not Uranian. It's much more about Venus. It's about that, that ability to create harmony in their life and create harmony in the world through the messages that you are able to convey as part of a team. So it's a very interesting chart. It's a very interesting chart. It's interesting too. I don't know his history of being married, but he has Cancer rising, has Capricorn in the 7th house partnership. He has Selena there, so he would marry someone who would be very charming. But oftentimes people with Capricorn in the 7th house, they marry someone either of their own age or someone who's older. Now, he's born in 1972. She's born in 1969. She's older by 3 years. Someone older. It doesn't have to be ancient, just someone older. You oftentimes find that with the Capricorn in the 7th house, the attraction to someone more mature. So it's a very interesting chart. Ben Affleck. Remember to come back and see us on Tuesdays. It's a Planetary Calendar Astrology on YouTube. Please subscribe and push the little bell, and that way you get reminded when they come up. We also do our forecasts every Friday for the coming week. And in that, of course, we use, the day blocks that you find inside the day planner. And you can find the day planner and the pocket and the 2 wall sizes and the digital all at planetarycalendar.com, because you do know that it's good to know what's going on. Until next time, be well. Look forward to the 2 charts now put together in part 3. Actually, it should be part 3.